Hey everybody, welcome to the Renew Show. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Tonight we have a special guest, Jenni Burnett. She was actually on the show last February, so it's been about 14 months since she's been on. A lot has happened in her life. Before I get any further, I just mentioned I left a comment and a link to her channel. If there's some crazy reason that you're not following Jenni, please click on the link and go subscribe to her now and just check her out. All right, so before I keep going, I just want to give my co-host an opportunity to say hello to you all.
Hi, my friends. This is Rosemary, and I'm very, very happy to have Jen on today. She's been one of my inspirations. If she doesn't know that by now, she should. And I just can't wait to start this party. Welcome.
All right, well, Jenni, I want to just thank you for agreeing to come on and just talking to us again. So
thank you guys.
I just want you to give you a chance to introduce yourself to anyone who may not know you, or even people who watched your first interview and didn't remember. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I live in Oregon, and my name is Jenni. I've been doing my YouTube channel since 2009. And it's been quite a transformation. I've lost a total of 200 pounds, and since I was about that high weight in 2009-10 and started losing the weight late 2010 into 2011. So it's taken a long time, but it's been really great, and I've documented quite a lot of my journey, and I've met a ton of great people, and I've been inspired by so many people, and yeah, I'm really enjoying doing YouTube. I love YouTube.
So okay, I guess I'll say this, or ask this. Out of all the things you've done on YouTube, the videos you've made, or even some of the things you've seen, do you have any defining moment or moments that have happened, either videos or things you've seen, or even comments that people have left, negative or positive?
Yeah, for sure. So my two videos that have gotten the most views is where I'm talking about binge eating, and I titled it Confessions of a Binge Eater. And then I've made a few videos since then talking about binge eating and compulsive eating, food addiction. They're all kind of the same for me. So those videos definitely have the most views. One of the videos I talked about how I ate 5,000 calories a day, and my mind in that moment was like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm just, this is what I'm eating in a day, and I don't understand why I'm 500 pounds. So seeing that now, I'm like, oh, man. But, that's how we learn, is going through it. So the other video was I had went to Safeway, a grocery store, and bought binge food with the intention of binging. And I was so angry with myself and with life, and I was resentful, and so I decided to turn on the camera because I was just at my wit's end and I didn't know what to do, and I knew I couldn't be the only one going through this. And so I turned on the camera, and I'm like in the video like, this is not a good video, this is what I bought, and just talking about what I bought and that this is what I'm going to eat, and screw it, whatever. And so that video has got a ton of response back. I had someone contact me early on that was doing I think she was teaching a class on eating disorders and binge eating, and showed my video in the class. And so I got a lot of response on that. And I've had a lot of negative, my two most common videos that I've had negative comments are those two videos, because people that don't understand what it's like to be obese, make comments like, oh, you shouldn't eat that shit, whatever. Sorry to cuss. But, they just don't know. They don't understand. And so, but thankfully, I've got like the 95% of the people that do understand and do get something from me sharing it. And I'm so thankful I shared it in that moment, because I can appreciate it 4 years down the line. So
I think your heart shows in every video, Jen. I think that's what brings me to you each time. And it's hard sometimes for us to verbally talk or explain ourselves. We want to. I'm speaking for many people, not just myself. We want to, but we don't have the words. And you seem to express yourself just the way our hearts are feeling. And so I think that's what draws me to you, and I'm sure that's what draws a lot of people to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think with especially that video, because I saw it, and it just amazed me that you were doing it. You know, it amazed me that you turned on the camera in that moment. And I mean, and first I just related to you and said, I've done that so many times, and I still do it. Even after committing to be healthy, I still do this. And you know, and it felt really, I don't know, it felt good to know that there's someone else who's going through this, but even those moments aren't stopping her from pushing toward her goal.
Right.
It wasn't like you did that and then it took you a year to recover from one night of, you know, of binging. That you did that and you faced it and you moved on. So can you actually compare that? You did a video, I guess it was yesterday, and you were talking about the same subject, but it was completely different, you know, in the amount and everything. So, can you just compare? Tell us what happened last night. I guess it was last night, and then just how you compare the two.
Well, I've come so far. A little bit about my history. So even from a child, I was always the biggest child in the class, very often the biggest adult in the room, up until even just a few years. And so I have many years of eating to comfort myself, and it's just autopilot sometimes. And even when I'm working on it all the time and hyper aware of it, I still have these moments that I slip back into that. And what had happened was I had had a busy day. I missed my afternoon snack. I went to the grocery store. I had a long list because I had intended to make a cooking video, and I had this whole plan going in my head. And then I'm leaving the store, and I'm already tired. And I knew the cooking video and cooking the food was going to take like 45 minutes. And so in my mind, I justified, well, I'm going to stop and get some fast food. And so I stopped at Jack in the Box and got a couple of tacos and started driving. And I live about 8 miles from the grocery store. And so I started driving, and I had the music up, and I was eating these tacos, and my mind just checked out. And so I got home, and I just felt terrible about it because I knew I had just binged, even though it's only 2 tacos. And 2 or 3 years ago, I would have been like, 2 tacos, kiss my ass. Like, really, it's 2 tacos. But for me, where I am now, the 2 tacos are more significant than the literal 2 tacos. So I had a hard time letting that one go because I just felt like, boy, that's really not what I want to be doing. Not because of calories, not because of gaining weight. It's because I don't want to use food. I don't want to use food to deal with my emotional problems or issues or stress. So I decided not to do the cooking video. I changed my clothes. I washed my face because I felt like I smelled like tacos, and it was just making me feel like disgusting. And so I decided to take a walk, and I listened to a book that talked about eating disorder recovery, and I just really kind of did an inventory of, what did I do, what was leading up to it, what can I do differently, and now that I'm facing it, admitting it, I'm letting it go. I'm not going to spend the next 2 days dwelling on it. I'm not going to use this as an excuse of, oh, screw it, I screwed up, I'm just going to eat cake the rest of the night. I didn't do that. And so that shows me that this is how far I've come in my recovery from eating disorder, and that it just gets better, because now here I am, and it's just, I can talk about it. I'm not ashamed about it. I'm sharing it, and hopefully that shows you guys that you guys can do it too. If you have a weak moment, it doesn't mean you have to have a weak day, week, month, year.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With every step that we take, not only do we require or we take in knowledge and wisdom, but we grow just a little bit, and that growth is going to take you so far, sweetheart. It's going to take you far. It's already taken you far.
Well, I think it all happens for a reason type of thing, and so I think I need to have these moments because I'm not perfect, and I don't want to be perfect. So something like this I can learn from and change my perception so that next time if it happens or when it happens, I can recover that much quicker and then help others as well.
The fact that you do it on video, you're processing the whole scenario. You're processing with us, and you're growing with us. So yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Thank you.
We all benefit from it. We all benefit from it.
Thank you.
So when you get those negative comments, I mean, because you're so open about this, and yeah, so I have something else to say, but I'll say that later. But you're just so open and transparent when it comes to this. You get negative comments. How do you deal with them?
Well, even in real life, 97% people like me. And then there's that 3% that are like, I don't trust you. I actually hate you. So, it's kind of weird. And so I think that's my experience in the YouTube comments too. I primarily get very positive comments and very positive private messages. It's just a small fraction of negative ones, and I just kind of ignore it. And I just kind of think, I know where I'm at. I mean, 2 years ago I didn't. 2 years ago I would have been like, oh, they're right. I'm start the negative cycle of comments. But now I've come so far that it's like, you really don't understand what I've been through, and I am pretty grounded in what I went through, where I'm going, and unless it's something directly personal, I don't usually take that in. If you want to judge me based on my character, I might have a harder time with that. But if you want to talk to me about my body or what I'm eating, it's like, don't waste your breath. I mean, even in meal prep videos, I'll talk about, if you have something negative to say, it's not even worth wasting your time typing it, because I don't care. I'm doing this to help other people. I'm not doing this to ask for your advice of, oh, is this too much meat in my salad? No, this is what I'm making, and I'm showing you guys because people want to know. So I hope that doesn't sound snobby or whatever, but I did have someone, sometimes I'll have people try and give me like diet advice or mention something, and usually I'll respond back with my true feelings on it. So I had someone, and she didn't mean it negative at all, but she was talking about green juicing and how important it is to have green juice and not cook vegetables and stuff. And I said, look, I'm happy with where I'm at now, because 2 years ago I was eating a Big Mac. Now I'm eating zucchini with pasta sauce on it. I'm happy with that if I cook the zucchini. And I understand where she was coming from, but for me, I've tried the green juicing diet, and all it did was lead me to binge, because I could only do it for half a day, and then I was like, oh God, I can't do it, and go right back to eating fast food, as well as I'm gonna have some extra to make up for this green juice that I just had that was so terrible, or whatever. So I just try to be realistic, I guess, is my point. I know what leads me to a binge, and restrictive dieting leads me to a binge. So
that's what makes each one of us unique. Some of us can do it, and I applaud people that can juice.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them. I mean, I do juice every once in a while, don't get me wrong, but not for substantial
meals. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the harder things you see with people who expose themselves on YouTube, is that, and I mean, everybody's different. Their makeup is different. So some people get very, very offended, or some people, if they get a negative comment, they'll just like shut down the comment section for the next 10 videos, or they'll like not make a video for 2 weeks and things like that, and I'm always frustrated at that, because I'm saying, like, why are you worried about them? Like, there's some person who doesn't know you, who probably doesn't care about you, and isn't going to do anything good for you. Why do you, but I know everybody isn't just going to brush it off as easily. So it's great to see that you can expose so much of yourself, but be able to, just push those off.
Well, and the thing is, like, I have a good subscriber base now, but I don't have like 20,000 people or 50,000 people like some of these people do. So I'm sure if I had, it's kind of like, it's going to.
Are you kidding me, Jen? Are you kidding me, Jen? You have 500 people watch you in 30 minutes. Come on.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean,
I get 50 maybe every other day.
Well, I do feel thankful for everybody that watches me. I mean, absolutely. I never expected any of this to happen. I made my channel. I look at my first videos, and I don't even know that I had any expectations. I just was lonely, and I felt like I was the only one that had this, and I felt like I was just a terrible person because I had no willpower and kept gaining weight, and I was craving someone that could understand what I was going through, and it took me a little bit to find it, but I kept making videos, and I'm so thankful I did.
Do you see why we love you? Do you see? The next time you look at this video, just listen to yourself. This is why we love you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you should. And I was going to just say, you should really see the comments. So many people are expressing their love and appreciation for you. And I'm going to just read a couple of them, just because they're at the top of the screen for me. Prairie Princess 1, Tina, she said, you have definitely come a long way. I've been following you for a long time, and those of us with eating disorders need to take it one day at a time, and it's such a long journey. I am so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
And Lacey Rose, she says, I don't get how anyone could not like you, even those 3%ers. Go for it.
They're out there.
It's amazing, because I think, just in your videos, and even when we had you on the show last year, I would think the same thing. Like, how can someone not like her? Like, she's so articulate, she's sweet, she's funny, she's gets to the point. She like, you have a good combination of intellect and emotion. Like, it's like, why would someone even say anything negative? So yeah, everyone else feels that way.
Yeah. Let's do a little shout out. This is what I do. This is part of my job, Jen. We have Lori Has Hope. She's saying hello. You're beautiful, and I not that you weren't beautiful before. Don't get me wrong, but you've done your hair now. You're doing a few things you didn't do before.
Yes.
And Mark, I know you know Mark, CTR Tom. He's saying hello. Lacey Rose, didn't even know there was a thing that we could do, a chat group, so she's excited. Taming the Food Beast. That was David's fault. Susan, tell David, stop saying that. Anyway, Susan says hi. Crystal Hill, Sleeve Rocker, which is Pete, says hello. And who else do we have here? Of course, we have us. Oh, Tina, of course. So anyway, thanks, guys. Sherry Ann. And I'm with the bandit Jill. Jill's here. I just love Jill. Anyway, thanks, guys, for joining in. So there you go. All these people are here for you, Miss Jen.
Thank you, guys.
I have a quick question. Talking about negativity and stuff, have you had anybody tell you that now you've had the easy way out, or you took the easy way out, and wow, this is why you're losing weight now?
I haven't had it too much, but it's on my radar, because now that I've lost 200 pounds, people are really starting to notice, and they ask me about my journey. Well, I try to really let them know that, yes, I had gastric bypass surgery, and then 6 months after, I didn't lose any weight because I was eating all day long. Because my emotions were just crazy. I just was not handling it at all. Mm-hmm. And so it took intensive therapy, getting a handle, going to OA really helped me. And so once I was able to get a handle on that, I was eating the right foods, and then magically the weight loss is happening. So I think part of it is the gastric bypass, but absolutely part of it is getting control over my food intake, which even after gastric bypass, I did not have control of. And some people feel like they don't, I don't feel like they believe me. So I'm sure, like, I will probably get more pushback on that down the line. If I do start to share my story on a broader sense, people will look at my timeline and say, well, yeah, she had gastric bypass, there you go. But it's so much more than that for me. And I've actually thought about at my job, they try to really promote wellness, and so they had a Biggest Loser contest probably about 6 months ago now, and I thought about joining it, but then I thought, if anybody found out I had gastric bypass surgery, the six
Oh,
months
yeah.
prior, they would have been like, you are a cheater. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so it's just little things like that it's like, I know my truth, and that's the main thing. So.
Right. Do you feel like this is going to take you all the way to wherever you want to go, and you'll be able to maintain this? People look at me and think, oh, you're 10 years out. Woohoo, you made it, whatever. But it does get harder as you go out. And those habits that you're learning now, are you going to be able to grasp them all throughout the journey, do you feel?
Well, I think that's that's where I try to look at it a little bit differently. So for me, I haven't set a goal weight because I try to be happy with where I am now. I so appreciate where I am now, what my body can do. I can go for a walk. I'm not in pain. I can wear smaller clothes. I get compliments. Like, this is all good stuff. So I'm finding the more I feel good and am focusing on life, not weight loss, then the weight loss happens. So, it's kind of a interesting thing. My hope is to always eat as healthy as possible in that situation, to always be learning more, growing more, being the best person I can be. That may be different in a year from now, even though I feel so great now. It was a year ago. I mean, I sat in this same chair at my old house, being interviewed by you guys, thinking life is great, So that's, I think, more of my goal, is just stay in the moment and not future trip too much, and just appreciate where I am now, because it seems like now that I've changed my perspective, it's really helped. And as long as I can keep an eye on using food for emotional reasons, I think that's going to benefit me the most. If I were to fall into a trap, if I were to have something major happen and just not be able to handle it and go right back into emotional eating, I could do that. So I'm trying so hard to be prepared to handle stress in the future.
Oh, I'm so glad. I hear you saying that you want to be in the present, and baby girl, that's amazing.
Thank you.
You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. Yeah. All right, Khalif, I've talked enough. I'm sorry. I took over. Mama took over.
I love that. All right, so a question I do have, and it kind of relates to weight loss surgery. You were on this journey for a while before you had it, and I know you were trying for a while to have weight loss surgery, and you were fighting with a lot of bureaucrats and a lot going on before you could have it. Was there ever a point where you just said, okay, forget it, I'm not even going to try to continue to seek weight loss surgery, I'm just going to continue to try to be healthy on my own and deal with the binging and the food addiction? Or were you always in the back of your mind saying, I'm doing this and hopefully I'll still get surgery someday?
Well, that's an interesting question, because in 2007 I actually decided I wanted to have bariatric surgery, and the financing fell through. And at that point, honestly, I kind of gave up on myself a little bit. So I wasn't trying to eat healthy. I was just like miserable. Like, well, there was my chance and I've blown it and I just don't see any change. And at the time I was working at a job that didn't have any health insurance, and so I was trying to get a loan to pay for it out of pocket, which I'm so glad that didn't happen. And so then in 2010, I got a job that had health insurance, and I started seeing a therapist, and then got diagnosed with an eating disorder, which felt like validation to me. And still in my mind, it was like, oh, well, I wonder if this could happen. And you had to be employed there a year, and you had to do a 6-month diet plan. And so it had some hoops, but I went ahead and started them. So, I was already employed there. I went ahead and did the 6-month diet program. And then for me, it was really important to get right emotionally, because I knew even if I had the surgery, it does not fix my brain, and I knew I was heavily addicted to food. So during that time, I was going through the therapy. I just wasn't really treading, I just felt like I was treading water. So at that point, I decided to go to an eating disorder treatment center and in Arizona, and I was there for a few months and learned a ton, and I'm so thankful for that experience. And so while I was there, there were a few other women that had had bariatric surgery that then became bulimic. And it scared me because I am hyper aware of transfer addictions, and I was afraid if I had the surgery, I would then, use another form of an eating disorder to get through my emotions because they felt, my anxiety felt so big. So I came home from that treatment center thinking to myself, I'm not doing it. And then I, continued to eat healthy, but I just really wasn't losing weight. And I think I was still in some denial at that point too. And so I decided, well, okay, I am going to try the bariatric surgery thing. And so by then I had already done the 6-month diet program, and I was employed for a year. So then it's like, okay, let's get started. So then the bariatric center said, they looked at my weight, and at that point, even after the treatment center, I was still in the just above 500. So they said, you've got to lose at least 100 pounds before you even come in this door. And that's what the intake coordinator said to me, and I was pissed. And I know other people are treated that way too, and that really frustrates me because it takes a lot of courage to make that call and to even say, I am willing to look into this, and then for them to say, sorry, not going to happen. So anyway, I'm one, when I'm challenged, I kind of like to prove you wrong. I don't know if you guys know that about me at all.
Not at all, Jen.
So I pursued it, and my therapist actually was friends with the bariatric surgeon, so we called her on her cell during a session and talked about the realistics of it. And so she said, well, okay, let's schedule an appointment. And I'm so thankful for my surgeon. She actually has done amazing things for me. And so that's what started the wheels going, and they said, okay, you've got to lose 100 pounds before we'll do surgery, but at least I was in the door, at least I had an appointment, whereas initially they said, no, we're not even going to waste our time. So started that ball rolling, and then surgery was scheduled in October, and then a lot of you know, but for those of you that don't, I went into the surgery and was really excited and took family pictures, and then got on the operating table, and they discovered a huge mass in my abdomen, and just shook us all up pretty good. And so the mass ended up not being cancer, thank goodness, and so I had the mass removed. And then I still wanted to have bariatric surgery. The surgeon was still on board, so we went in for surgery again, and I had a massive infection that I was on antibiotics. I didn't have a fever, but it was just not good. So again, they woke me up from surgery, and it's a process to do your 2-day bowel prep, to have clear liquids only, to be wheeled into that operating room, and then to be woken up again saying, no, it didn't happen again. And at that time, I thought, this is a big sign from God saying, do not get this, because I'd had so many roadblocks getting there. And so at that point, I just kind of surrendered to my surgeon. I said, I can't do it anymore. I'm not, this is a pretty clear sign to me. And so she looked at me and she said, just give me one more shot. Like, I do believe this will absolutely help you. And so I said, okay. So I went to wound care because I still had a large wound from when they removed that mass. So I went to wound care, got that healed up, and then went back in for the gastric bypass. And thank goodness it went great. It was successful. And then, I have not had any complications since then. What brings up some shame for me that I'm working on is the fact that I went through all that, and then, 3-6 months later, I'm binging, and I'm eating small portions all day long in order to get that food fix and to get that relaxation that food gave me. And so, again, I'm so thankful that I went through that, and I think it helps me appreciate it more. And
uh-oh, did we lose her?
Yeah, I don't know what just happened. Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm going to try to get her back. But one thing that she was talking about, that she talked about the last time she was on, just everything that she went through to have that surgery, and she was alluding to it here that she did that, and even after the surgery, she still had this problem. She still had the binge eating, and the mental aspect wasn't fixed just from the surgery. And I just think that's so important for everybody to see. I did.
That's what I was talking about when I was saying, do you have those? Are you learning those habits? Because those habits are going to take you through those hard times, through the 10 years or whatever. Oh, hi, Jen. We're just talking without you.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
Okay, it happens. It happens. Just come back to us.
Yes.
All right. So you were kind of talking about just the 3 to 6 month period after surgery, and how you were still binging, but you just changed the way you were doing it, but you still were relying on food. How did you get over that? Or like what, just kind of walk us through you even realizing that and changing it.
Well, I went to a lot of my old habits. Sugar is a nightmare for me. It just takes me right back to being an addict. And I literally feel like an addict when I have it in my body or when it's nearby. And so what was happening was, because after gastric bypass, you can potentially have what's called dumping syndrome. So your intestines are rerouted, and your lower part of your small intestine can't handle sugar going right in there. Usually it's broken down higher in the intestine. And so there's this fear, or I had a fear of ingesting sugar and then having this dumping syndrome, which can make you feel really terrible. Your heart will race. Just multiple things. And so in my mind, because I have this little mind of an addict, I would have sugar with protein in hopes that it would kind of buffer that sugar so that my intestine could break it down. So I would have a piece of string cheese with my donut, or chicken with a piece of cake. You know what I mean? It's just like crazy food behaviors, and it felt chaotic, and it felt shameful. And every time we would have cake day at work, I was sneaking extra pieces. I was eating at my desk, hoping nobody saw me. Potlucks, it felt terrible, and it felt so shameful. And I really needed help. And so I had a new therapist that came into my life around March, and then we stepped it up and started doing 2 times a week in the fall. I really had a change in the fall of last year, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, because I didn't make videos for almost 6 months in 2013. And then, I came back, I was in my new house, and I was like, hey, I'm still here, I'm still around, but I was really struggling during that time. And so
of course we noticed, Jen. We all noticed.
Yeah. So in the fall, I really had a change, and I started going to Overeaters Anonymous in June. And again, I felt a little silly because I wasn't really working that program, but I was showing up, which is technically working the program, showing up, going to meetings, being around other people that were struggling and who were modeling for me how you can have control over your food addiction. And it felt impossible. It felt like I can never give up sugar. There is no way. I'm so scared. I was actually scared. And so with the support of the therapist and just multiple things, but I decided in October that I would give it a shot and just try and cut out sugar. And I did it for about a week, and then we had a big party at work, and so I fell off the wagon and started just eating whatever. And that, scared me a little bit. And I thought, is this really what I want to be doing? Not really. So I got back on the wagon, and that was late October. And then went on vacation and Thanksgiving, Christmas, all these holidays that I got through without having any candy, cookies, sugar. There's trace sugar and things, but as far as having a sugary item, a donut, any of my trigger foods, I haven't had them, and I still haven't had them. And I think last count it was like 190 days or something, which feels really weird to say that it's been 190 days since I've had a cookie or a donut or whatever, but it's, it's still unbelievable to think about it. And what keeps me going is, you know, my birthday's coming up, so it's a little bit weird saying, well, I'm not going to have birthday cake on my birthday or wedding cake at my wedding, but I'm not there yet. So why am I tripping about the future when I'm just thinking about now? Did I have sugar today? No, I did not. Did I have it yesterday? No, I did not. Am I going to have it tomorrow? I don't really want to. This feels really good. It feels empowering, and it does not feel diety. Like, it's not that I'm not having sugar to punish myself. I'm doing it to take care of myself, because mentally I feel so much better when I don't have that I've set this boundary for myself that's achievable, attainable, and that feels good that I can achieve that. It's like kind of setting this foundation for my recovery, and it feels really good.
Well, good for you. But go to Mama's in the kitchen. There's a protein cake and there's cheesecake in there.
Yep.
I made it happen because I'm a big dumper from way back. And I can only have 10 sugars at a time, and if I don't, I'm going to dump. So just in case you wanted to know.
Thank you.
You're doing amazing. We are having some questions, and I'm having difficulty getting on. So is there any questions? Can you see, Khalif?
Yes, we do have one actually for both of you from Carnation038. And the question is, I'm requesting a gastric sleeve through my doctor, and he said a colonoscopy is mandatory. I asked him if he was joking. He said no. Is this one of the mandatory tests they make you get before surgery? So can you both talk about that in your experience?
In my experience, I didn't have to, but my sister did. What about you, Jen?
I did not, but I'm wondering how old she is. I think maybe I work at a health insurance company, so that may be something to do with age. Also, just being said, my mass that they found in my abdomen, none of the pre-op testing found it. They only found it when they went in and cut my stomach open laparoscopically. So any pre-op testing your doctor is suggesting, it might be worth it to do, because that helps you to find if there's any problems. Lynette had went in and found something in her intestines and had to get that taken care of before she could have her gastric bypass. And, you know, actually my primary care doctor, after this whole finding this mass fiasco, I saw her, and she was actually really upset that none of the pre-op testing had found it, and that it was just kind of this crazy thing that none of us knew about. And so she's actually, because my mass was connected to my ovary and fallopian tube and was so big it was at the level of my liver. And so she actually, for any of her patients that were having bariatric surgery, she was automatically doing a pelvic ultrasound just to check everything out so that there were no surprises. So I know that's not common with all doctors, but you know, she felt like it was really important. So if your doctor feels like it's important, I honestly would do it.
And some doctors will go ahead and take your gallbladder so that you don't have any issues, because when we lose so quickly, you'll usually, well, knock on wood, I haven't yet. But now they're starting to see that they're taking the gallbladder. So I still have mine. Any more questions, Khalif?
That was the only questions. There are a lot of comments.
Okay, I get to ask another question. Yay!
Yeah,
okay, Jen, with you, how was your level of compliments before, and what is the level now? I'm thinking the level's like like this, right? And how are you feeling? Because I know, for me, when I always got compliments, but never like what I was getting. I mean, I was getting guys opening the door for me, which was really weird. And before, I would be like, I'd have like groceries in one hand, a child in another hand, and they acted like I could get the door. Then now, when I started losing the weight, all of a sudden I got men opening doors for me, and I'm like, whoa, what's that about? So how are you taking it, and are you okay with it? Because for me, I took offense at first. Okay, so I want you to talk about that, and then I had to learn to process it all. But at first, I took offense to it, and then I wanted people to stop. Like, okay, I've had enough. You've complimented me enough today. I saw, you complimented me yesterday. Is that happening to you? Because I have a feeling it is.
So many emotions. Well, I mean, I feel thankful that even at my highest weight, you know, I feel like I've always been pretty, and I would always get compliments, you know, and as soon as I started talking, I think people can see right to my heart sometimes. So even at that high weight, if I was talking about something I was passionate about, people would be drawn to me, and they would you know, have that interaction. So the main one big difference is being so heavy, I would get stared at or kids commenting, which I know you understand, you know, being a teacher. Um, so it's interesting now that I blend in and that I'm not the biggest person in the room and that I can sit in a normal chair and, you know, all these things that I'm looking around expecting people to point at me or stare at me or children to look at me, and they don't. They just, you know, whatever. As far as the compliments go, yes, it has increased. And it's steadily increased, which feels great. I don't really get offended by it because I feel like I'm a more beautiful person as a whole. As corny as that sounds, I feel like I have an inner glow now because I feel like I have control of my life. I don't have that deep shame anymore. I can look you in the eye. I can tell my truth and my story and sit with, yes, I used to be that heavy, and look at me now, and I've grown from it. You know, there was a reason. I do believe there was a reason for it all, and that I've come this far. So that alone, I think, makes me a more confident person, and my confidence shows. I do think I get more looks with the blonde hair.
I must go blonde soon.
I just, you know, I still like will get looks from people like, what, you know, what's he looking at? And I'm like, oh, you know, I think, and having men talk to me in real life situations that I wouldn't normally have, I don't think they would have normally talked to me, and then I'm like, is that someone hitting on me? That's, okay, and then also with women, you know, as my looks have changed, you know, they're like happy for me, but you know, I feel like sometimes I also get that look like, you know, I wish I looked like that good, or I wish I, you know, shoot, even my mom, you know, it's like this sweater is a 1X, and she was helping me pick it out, and she did a double take. She's like, Jenny, this is a 1X, and I'm like, yeah, and she's like, and I could kind of see her heart a little bit because she's like a 2X or a 3X, you know, and so I've always been bigger than her, and you know, I love my mom. I'm not talking bad about her at all, but you know, it's interesting to see people's reactions as I'm changing, of how that affects them, and
I can get it because remember, Connie,
right.
I had gastric bypass first, and then she came along. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's not, you're not talking bad about them, but you know, you have to express this because it's so true.
Right. Well, and I still have times where people are giving me compliments, and I feel, and I've been honest about this, like even in therapy, talking about it, that sometimes I feel like people put me on this pedestal, like they're just look at me like, oh, you're so great, you've done all these great things, like a little bit like, you know, like I'm a celebrity or something, and I'm like, I'm a normal person, I'm just, you know, you can do this too, and so that can be overwhelming sometimes for me because I don't want to be on a pedestal. I just want to interact with people on the same level, and so that's been a little bit of a struggle too, and you know,
well, you've motivated many people. I'm reading some of these comments that are finally coming in, and each one, I believe, each one that I spoke about earlier, you've inspired them in some way or the other. So, of course, I mean, I don't think they're putting you on a pedestal. I think they're telling you a truth that you need to keep here.
Yeah.
You know?
And I do my best to take it in, and my therapist said I have a little bit of survivor's guilt, you know, and I think I kind of do. I feel for the person that is still actively binging and still going through the drive-thru and ordering 2 drinks because they're ashamed that they're about to eat all this food, you know, but I can't do it for them. All I can do is share my story and say, you can do it too because I did it. And not to sound like a Jenny Craig commercial, but, you know, it is possible to change your life, and it's not that if you really want it, because I wanted it when I weighed that much, but it's making those little changes and daring to do something differently today. I even had one of those a week ago where I made a video about it. I did something different tonight. I sat at the kitchen table instead of sitting in front of the TV while I ate a meal. That felt really scary to me because I was alone with this food, and it just brought up so many emotions. But I did it, you know, I did it. And doesn't mean I'm doing it every night for the rest of my life, but I did it once, and I was able to not just surprise myself, but to prove myself I can do something differently.
Yeah. We've been having I'm sorry, Khalif, did you have a question? Because I can go on forever with Jen. We need to give each other our phone numbers, Jen.
I know.
I was gonna say, I love the way that you both are like just interacting with each other. I'm just sitting listening like a spectator. I love it.
He's gonna get on to me when we get off, everybody. Y'all say something nice. I'm gonna get in trouble.
No, yeah, okay. So I do have this one comment I'll read, but I think we should add a little bit later, so don't break the flow of this. I do kind of have a question of what you were saying. I guess why I think Rose was offended, and if by some of the comments she was getting. Like, do you ever have people in your life now that maybe, I don't know, just men, but let's just take men who didn't give you the second looks or didn't give you the compliments or anything? You would pass them by and they wouldn't notice you, but now they notice you. And do you ever look and say, well, when I was 500 pounds, you didn't notice me then? Like, don't come and give me the compliments now. You know, do you ever feel that at all for those people?
I really don't. I don't know. I was completely oblivious at that. So, like, for instance, I was at Ross the other day and just literally walking by, and the security guard there flipped around and was like, hey, how are you today? And I was like, oh, hi. And I'm like, why is he talking to me? You know, like, what? This is really weird. And just, like, proceeded to have this just random conversation about the weather. And I'm like, weird. You know, I still, like, was like, huh, okay. You know, I would never have expected him to do that to me, you know, at that weight, because I wasn't open to that. You know, I'm more open now to people, whereas before I would not look you in the eye. I would have just went in there early morning so I wouldn't have to see people. And so, you know, if you're only willing to see me for my looks, that's one thing. But I feel like my character shows more than just my looks now. I mean, I still feel like, I don't know. It's a weird spot. I haven't had anyone specifically that didn't look at me at that weight that looks at me now. If I did, I think I'd just be like, you know, you're missing out, or you're judging me for something that isn't worthy of judgment. You know, it's and you know, at that weight, if I had someone that was knocking down my door and that really wanted to be with me at that weight, I wouldn't have wanted them. I wouldn't have trusted them. I did not want to be with someone who wanted me in that miserable state. I want to be with someone who wants to be with me in my loving life state. And I think that's why I haven't found that person yet, is because I'm not where I want to be. I want to meet him at this level, you know, not at this level and have someone try and take care of me and save me. I needed to save myself, and I'm doing it.
You know what? We had a good friend come over today. Oh, I took over again, Khalif. I'm sorry. Anyway, I need to stop playing. But and she says, Rosemary, do you, could you know, she sees how we're exercising, and every time I come to Dallas, she tries to come and see me or take me out, and I'm always walking or doing something. And today, again, she came, and I had just got back from a 6-mile walk. And she sat down and she says, do you still, because we were talking, and she says, do you still look at yourself like you're fat? She asked Connie, and Connie, because she looked at Connie and she goes, you're tiny. And Connie's like, are you serious? What are you looking at? But we don't see ourselves small. We still see ourselves as that 487-pound, 347-pound, I don't remember what your weight was, but you know what I'm saying? We still are remembering ourselves like this instead of what we are today. And does that happen to you? Where people are looking at you and going, you're so tiny, and you're like, are you talking to me?
Yeah. Well, even today I wore this dress, and you know, it's like, I'm like pushing my jiggle, like, is it going to jiggle too much? I don't know about
Flexies,
this,
baby,
you know?
flexies. Go get some flexies.
Yes. And so, but yeah, I got so many compliments today, like, wow, you are really a lot smaller than what you were. And so then I remind myself, like, it's in my head. You know, how can I ever complain about my body compared to what I used to look like? I'm so thankful. How can I not be thankful for where I am right now? And I still have those moments, like, I don't really like my arms showing. I don't really like wearing pants because I don't like the tight fabric on my legs. But I'm acknowledging it and I'm working through it. And, you know, that's the best I can do right now, you know. But yeah, I definitely, I mean, sitting in other people's cars, no more seatbelt extender, all these things that I'm like, wow, I am smaller. Like, I take up less space. And
just look
yeah,
at where you're sitting right now.
I know.
I remember the first videos. It was the whole seat, baby.
Yep, the big blue chair. It's still here. It's gonna retire soon, I think. But yeah.
Yeah. I think that when it's going to take you some baby steps, but I think it was like 3 years ago I made a video and I said, today's the day. I wore a spaghetti strap dress because I always had to wear smocks, always. And my husband would say, we're in Fresno, California. It's 122 degrees. Please do not wear a sweater. And I'm like, I have to. And I made a video that day and I said, today I will become free. It took some steps. Now, please, I wear sleeveless all the time.
Yeah.
Khalif, are we getting any more questions?
Well, Carnation038, she just gave us a little more information when she asked about the colonoscopy. She's actually 52 years old, and the reason why that she's apprehensive about it is because she's worried about them maybe puncturing the wall while doing the procedure, and she knows several people who passed away from that happening. So, you know, I guess it is a real concern for her. So, I mean, I would just suggest you have that conversation with your doctor. Let them know the apprehension. Maybe there's a way around it to have that test. Maybe they can do an alternative. But, you know, definitely have that conversation with your doctor. And
yeah, I don't know that an MRI or a, what is the other one called?
CT scan?
Yeah, would find what they're looking for is specifically. So
right.
There's a reason why they're asking you to get that. But
yeah. I mean, I've had several. Not that me saying that is going to make you feel comfortable now, but, you know, I've had several of them, and, you know, everything has been fine. I actually asked, could I get a video recording of the procedure, but, you know, they never give me one. We have a few more people who came in, and one thing I would want to say, I mean, there's a lot of people who are talking. Janice Green, Black Cats and Z, Lisa, LJB415 Abel.
hi, Lisa.
And Tom, CKR Tom, Mark, sorry, CKR Tom too. He's relating to a lot of what you're saying, and I noticed in a couple of his comments he's talking about just his confidence and, you know, how you have so much confidence and how it's so difficult for him. And he's mentioned before about the fact that he was more confident when he was larger. He always talks about wearing his fat suit, and when he had his fat suit on, he felt for some reason more protected, and so he can be more open with people. But now that he's slim and he's maintained it for 6 years, it's harder for him to even to converse with people. And even in his videos, you see he's very introverted.
That's one person I would love to give a hug to. Mark, you've got to come to a meet and greet. You too, Jen, and you too, Khalif.
Hey, Mark is, well, okay, I'll first have to say there is going to be a meet and greet in my home state in August sometime.
Oh, sorry, I can't go.
In Atlantic City. So, see? But also, I'll say Mark is in Arizona, so he's not too far away from you.
Well, yeah, but he needs to come to me. I definitely want a hug from Mark. I'm just saying.
You hear that, Mark, right? Take that drive from I think he's in Phoenix, but, you know, take that drive to Fresno when she's back in maybe a month or so.
Yeah, look at you, giving me another month. My husband's like, it's time for you to come home.
So, Jenny, do you have any advice for people who are struggling, not just saying, oh, I need to lose some weight, but people who really feel like they have a food addiction or they're binging and it's out of control, and they feel like there's nothing I can do. I know people who have had surgery and they still go through that, just because they have the restriction, as you mentioned, they still find a way to binge. They just change the eating pattern. What would be your advice to someone like that struggling?
As corny as it sounds, it's the don't give up thing. I mean, I have more perseverance than a lot of people I know. Even early on in the videos, I was trying so many different things. I purchased like a special food journal that this is my new food journal and this is going to be so great. And then I purchased a recorder because I didn't like writing down my food, so I was going to record my food. And then I did a juicer, and then I did, so I've got all these things that I tried and didn't work at the time, but I kept trying them. And so finding what worked for me was key, and then using kind of all of those as little supplemental tools. So reading books by Louise Hay, even though she's not talking about weight loss, she's talking about loving yourself more. It's big picture for me. I don't just want to lose weight. I actually want to be the best person I can be, and with that, I'm getting to my more natural set point and losing weight. And I'm not intending to lose weight. My intention is so much bigger than that. And I think that's what my main message is it's not about losing the 10 pounds or 200 or whatever it is. As far as specifics, it's like just keep trying. I mean, I went to Overeaters Anonymous in 2011, and I was like, this is not for me. But just be open to the idea that it might not be for you now, but it might work for you next week. Don't just shut the door on things. Acknowledge that, yes, it's not working for me right now. I don't think I'm going to do this right now, but it doesn't mean I'm never doing that again. It doesn't mean that it's out of the question. Just kind of being open-minded, I think, really has helped me.
Thank you.
Connie's trying to sneak by. Did you see her?
No.
You should have said hi to everybody, by the way.
Jenni, what's one thing that you would say is a regret that you have for your whole journey so far?
Can it be a regret in life?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I think my biggest regret in life is that I treated myself like I didn't have a future. So, screwed up my credit, damaged my body, I'm sure. Didn't really care because in my heart I just felt like, what's the point of it all? So now that I have come this far and I do have a life and I do have a future, it's like, why did I screw up my credit? Or boy, I feel great now, but what happens in 10 years when my heart is like, why'd you eat all that McDonald's, But again, I try not to future trip. I try to just stay in the present moment and do what I can now. So, paying my bills on time now, cleaning up, just again, like trying to do the best I can right now. But it's really struck me, especially in the last few weeks, that I used to live like I didn't have a future and didn't care about the future, which is really sad.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that. I recently did a video on Proof Weight Loss Surgery Works, and I talk about a lot of things, but the main thing was trying to piece me back together, because we tend to tear ourselves down because we feel like we have no future. We feel like nobody loves us, and if the person that is in our life right now is treating us like crap, so we're worth so little. And when we start piecing ourselves back together and building on the self-love instead of self-hate, what happens is we become more confident of who we've become. And not only is it known on the outside, but it's known in our mind, our hearts, and our souls. And that is what radiates. That is the beaming light on you right now, my friend.
Thank you.
You knew I was going to preach to you. I'm just saying. That's what Mama does. But I mean, it's true. It's true. And for anyone that's listening, I would suggest that highly, to start self-loving yourself, because self-hate, that's a done deal. We've done that and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So the self-love is always new, and we have to start slow and begin to piece and build on that. And that, my friend, will get you far.
I think that's a great, a great way to end the show. And Jenni, I appreciated what you said there. Just looking at what we're doing as, possibly robbing from our future or damaging, not just with weight loss and eating, but with everything, with financial mistakes, or even not, mending relationships that are broken, things like that. And also what you said earlier in talking about sugar, and you said you avoid sugar not as a punishment, but to better yourself and to make yourself healthier. You're doing a positive thing for your health. It's not a punishment like, oh, I can't have this. It's you saying, I'm making a healthy choice today.
Right. Well, and I think that's a great point for, as far as living your life and keeping going with the healthy eating is, I'm not doing this with the intention of, or even with the keeping the good health in the future, what you were saying. I'm not doing it out of shame. I'm not doing it in a shaming way like, oh, great, you eat that, now you're screwed for your future. Great, good. Now you have a heart attack. Good job. That's your fault. I used to say those things to myself, and I hated myself so bad deep down. And so now I've changed that perspective. Like, well, I want to eat healthy because I want to have a good heart so that I can, be around for my family. So changing that perception just instantly, even physically, lightens me up. Whereas the anger talk feels like, it's a physical reaction for me. So changing that perspective has been a huge deal for me.
Good for you, Jen.
And we are just about out of time. Do you have any last words of wisdom or even humor or anything that you want to share with the audience before we have to sign off?
I don't know about humor, but maybe give yourself some credit that you're stronger than you think. You're a better person than you think. I think we can all get down on ourselves, and what really helped me was talking to myself in a loving voice, not a hating voice or a shaming voice. The things that I used to say to myself, I would never say to anybody else, but I said them to myself all the time. And so just recognizing that self-talk and changing it, even if you just change it this time, if you continue on with the negative, just catch yourself, change it. It will absolutely make a difference.
Thank you.
Love it. Connie in the background. So true.
All right, everybody. Well, we're out of time for this week. If you still have any questions or comments, I know people joined at different times, and some people may be at the 40-minute mark or the 30-minute mark. So when you get to this point, if you still have any comments or questions, you can still leave them in the comment section. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your support, as always, and making this a great show. Jenni, just thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom and insight with us and being so open with us.
Thank you, guys. And you guys can also find me on Facebook. I do want to say facebook.com/JenFromEugene. And send me personal messages. I try my best to respond. I try my best to respond on YouTube. And I just am so thankful for all of you guys and your support.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, guys, and the links will be in the description box in 3 minutes to our Facebook page as well. All right, guys, have a wonderful night and a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.